we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means, on infiltration instead of invasion, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. There is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it.
All right, welcome to episode 114 of the Abuse Hour. It is I, your host, Coffee Long, coming to you unsupervised, unmedicated, and an unchecked threat to society. And as it happens, I am once again en route to the aeropuerto. And if you noticed, I haven't been to the airport in a little while, man. I haven't had too much work to go and do the last, month or so. But it's been all prep time, so I'm taking off today, and it's going to be a multiple week breaking the balls. So we'll see how this goes, man. I mean, it should go all right. I actually had, man, I wish I could tell you all about this. We had a dude that was working, if you like, and this dude got pinched on a felony, man, a bad felony, and then had the stones to send his old lady to us talking about, like, hey, he needs some money, man, and hey, he's don't you feel like you kind of owe him something? Like, are you out of your fucking mind? No, I do not, man. So there was a degree of legal wrangling that is just wrapping up, and like this dude, I don't know what to say, man. It's hilarious is what it is. I cannot understand. There's this weird thing now where it's like you just don't know. Like, you just don't know who's gonna come out like this. And cats come to you with like, hey, I feel like I should have something for nothing. It seems to be all the rage lately. It's like this African trend that's picking up that, like, hey, is there a way that I could not do anything and still somehow get money from you? No, there's not really a way that's going to happen. So that's a good time. But I think me and a couple dudes, we get out here and get linked up on this trip. And it's going to be about time for steak and whiskey. Steak and whiskey, gentlemen. So in any case, this week, I wanted to hit a couple. I think, as much as there always is to talk about our tiny-hatted friends, I think I wanted to shift and talk a little bit about this African situation. And a lot of ins, a lot of outs, a lot of what happens. Not really that, it's not that nuanced of a thing, man. I think we've all seen the meme at this point where, if you as the white man had never interacted with them, then what do you get? You get, one of many African shitholes that looks the way that it does. What if we had, had our little interactions, but then turned them loose? Well, then you get Liberia. And what if they rose up and struck you down and decided to set up their own situation? Well, then you get Haiti. And what if we just try to live peaceably alongside each other? Well, then that's where you get what you have now. Which, for as long as I've been alive and aware of it, it's been a non-stop thing of like, hey, you done me wrong. Hey, my life is shit, but it's actually your fault and you owe me something. And what I think is conspicuous about this, besides just the fact that it's bullshit, but I guess the thing that really catches my eye on this is the fact that so much of it hinges on some version of white people being deceptive or dishonest or exploitative or some such thing where, otherwise Tyrone would have been living his best life. He would have been live, laugh, loving out here. He would have been finishing college and building bridges and, establishing routes of commerce. But instead, because of what you pulled, And I guess that's the treachery of it all, right? Is that it wasn't you. It was alleged to be, well, no, it was your grandparents. It was your great-grandparents. It was your great-great-grandparents. They done Tyrone's great-great-grandparents wrong, you see, and now you actually owe him some kind of way. And this kind of came to mind because I listened to the Devin Stack product most recently on the Black Wall Street thing, which, dude, I've been in and out of Tulsa a good number of times. And these people actually believe this shit. Like, I think a lot of these things, we hear these things and we're like, yeah, fucking Black Wall Street, yeah, fucking play a phonograph record with a peanut, thank you, George Washington Carver or whatever, the black man invented the traffic light, whatever. We hear these things and, like, in public, we play along like pro wrestling, like, yeah, hey, but we all know, I think most average people know that so much of this is just, it's horsecock, dude. This is nonsense. But you get out here to Tulsa and these people no shit believe it, man. I walked into a I don't know what you'd call it, dude. It's like an office building, but they got a coffee situation in not the basement, like the first floor in the lobby, right? And it's pretty decent coffee. So, it was up the street where we were staying a good few times. You walk in there, and in the lobby of this thing, it's got a whole, like, not a mural, but like one of these photo type murals where there's pictures and shit in the back, and then there's text over top of it, and running on about Black Wall Street and the commerce of the black man and the black history in Tulsa and evil white man dropping fucking, I don't know what, suicide cats out of biplanes or some kind of crazy shit. But these people are actually shilling for this shit. And it's a trip because, like, the Devin Stack thing, I listened to most of it. I didn't listen to all of it because I love his product. So, Devin, if on the off chance that you ever hear this, yeah, dude, I love the product. It's quality programming. And the fact that the guy puts something out, he's just constantly got something coming out. That's fantastic. He does, for a subject that you already know about, to me anyway, like I already knew about this Black Wall Street thing. So, like, the version that he was laying out to you, yeah, he was given some more details, like more details that I had heard before, clarified a few things. But this was something I was already familiar with, so I was kind of like, come on, man, come on. But, yeah, specific to that thing, something that I got out of that I hadn't heard before, like I already knew, and if you didn't know now, you will know now, that that whole deal with, like, yeah, a race riot in Tulsa and this shit, this was, I want to say it was like 1922 or 3, something like that. So it's over a century ago. It's over 100 fucking years ago. But the story was, and they kind of captured this at the beginning of this Watchmen movie, and I can't remember if I'd mentioned that before either, but that movie, I'm not even a comic book guy, but fuck that movie. I watched it a while ago, and I thought maybe it would be something fresh, something a little different flavor. It's just a fucking comic book. How stupid can you be, Coffee? Come on, man. So, yeah, they captured this little event, more or less based very loosely on things that didn't happen, and they got, Whitey as others, guys in KKK hoods dropping grenades and fucking Molotovs out of biplanes. And I'm like, come on, man. Come fucking on. Because like a lot of these things, I look at this kind of shit, and they had an interview. I'm getting spun up now. They had an interview a while ago with, like, the last remaining survivor, and it was this negress who was like 100 and, according to her, right? These are probably lies. Her parents can't count, but like 102, 3, 4, 5 years old. And she talking about, I remember they was flying in the aeroplane and they was dropping them kerosene-soaked rags out the aeroplanes and they was burning down them black businesses. And I'm like, like a lot of these things, I'm like, think it through. Think it the fuck through. How You know, if some pickaninny wants to come with a wazoo story, I mean, that's to be expected. All right, I wasn't do nothing, man, and the car it just flipped it upside down. I ain't no wafo. Like they're always gonna come with some wazoo fuck off story that's physically impossible, and you, as a logical, reasonable person, you just have to suffer through it. But when some Nogris is gonna come a century later with they was dropping the kerosene rag out the biplane, use your fucking head. If you're gonna listen to this shit and then you're gonna think about putting it on TV, either one, you're so fucking stupid it's a goddamn miracle you can even stay alive on your own, or two, you're lying to me on purpose. You are fucking lying to me. So I mean, if you think this shit through, it's like, what do you got, man? What do you got? Is there a guy in a biplane with a book of matches 100 years ago? Has he got like a bucket of fucking kerosene and a thing of rags? And he's like, hey, Jim Bob, let's get that fucking biplane fired up. I've got an idea. I mean, draw a picture for me of how the fuck this works. Like, you're in the back of a fucking biplane. Like, this would be like sitting in the bed of a pickup truck. Yeah, like dumping kerosene onto a rag and then, striking matches and dropping this over the side? Like, how good of an idea is this? Like, this idea would last 10 seconds. Of like, you would literally get off the ground and be like, hey, this is fucking stupid. I don't think this is going to work out. And if you were stupid enough to press ahead, you would burn your fucking biplane down. Because I'm not your biplane guy or anything, but as I understand it, like, these were not your ultra sturdy construction products, man. These were, in some cases a little bit on the rickety side. So I just right off the get-go of like, you saw what? You didn't see shit. Like, one, even if you did see this, you wouldn't fucking remember it. It was over a century ago. And two, how reasonable is this? This is fucking stupid, but this is what they're pitching to you. This is what they're trying to sell you on, all right? So I had already known a good bit about this, and it really jumped into my head because I actually got into it with an ultra, like what this person describes himself as, the intolerant left. I'm the intolerant left. I'm like, all right, intolerant left, and we got into it about this specific incident. There was a Black Wall Street once, and white people burned it down. And I'm like, do you want to know what that was about? And I remembered this at the time. I couldn't remember the guy's last name, but the nig's name his name was Dick Rowland. Diamond Dick Rowland, who made an attempt to sexually assault a 17-year-old elevator operator. So a woman this time. It's quite a change from the modern Diddy version. Nice try. But Diamond Dick Rowland tried to assault 17-year-old elevator operator. This 17-year-old girl was an orphan living at the local orphanage, putting herself through business school, whatever that entails, 100 years ago, by going to school at night and then working as an elevator operator during the day. So, I mean, real bootstrap type shit. Like good people, right? Good, white, industrious people. And then this guy comes in there. He tried to put his magic. He tried to slang his mojo and shit. She screams. Some clerk runs out of an office in the building, sees young Diamond Dick making his escape, and they call the cops. Forthwith, the cops round young Dindu up and take him to the police station. So one of the other things that, again, like when I hear a lot of these things or, any of this stuff, I think probably what you've noticed is I like to think through, like, how actually would this play out? Like, in what way does this make sense? Or is this something you would see? Or what makes sense about this, right? Sometimes nothing, sometimes everything. So with this particular instance, apparently Diamond Dick gets rolled up and a lot of people congregated outside the police station. So thinking through this, listening to to this most recent black pill product, it kind of made sense in two ways. One, because Devin Stack had done some research, and this was new material to me, so this was fantastic. Had done some research, and apparently this kind of shit had been going on. Like, there was a rash of this shit, and it had been going on for the last like 2 years. So mind you, and I kind of want to, I don't know, rabbit hole a little bit here on Tulsa, because apparently the history of this place was an oil boom town. And when you say boom town, not so much like gold rush town, like maybe what you'd see in the Old West or something, but more akin to like it built up and then it kept building. Because, you know, oil, like not like gold somewhere, you know, it's gonna peter out, you know, fairly quick. The oil, I mean, there's still oil out there to be had, right? And so Tulsa got built up pretty good, but in driving around there, like I've been going out there pretty regularly for quite a while. So, and for smart fucks listening, I don't live there. I don't have family there. Don't waste your fucking time. I'm not there on a regular schedule. You'll never fucking catch me. You go fuck yourself. But I have spent a lot of time there, and I had actually started going there before I had ever heard of any of these Tartaria ideas. But either way, it's kind of a trip, you know, whether you subscribe to the Tartaria thing or not, where, you know, you've got these huge buildings being stood up in basically the middle of fucking nowhere. And it's a trip because you go to Tulsa and it feels fucking empty. Like, there are these big buildings all over the fucking place, and you would expect like some major metropolitan traffic type thing, but there's just not. And then it's not that long before you can just be like, yeah, that's all. That's the end of the city. You're out of town now. You're in, you know, the suburbs or some, you know, housing project shithole type area. But downtown, dude, there are a lot of these large buildings where you're like, they built this when? So it's kind of a trip in that sense. But when you think of it from this perspective of 100 years ago, you could see where, like, yeah, I see this place has started to get built up, and it was like 100,000 people 100 years ago. So that's a good size fucking city. Like, that's a pretty big city. So I will imagine that you could probably see exactly what you'd expect to see now, where in these downtown areas, there's more wiggle room, there's more spots to hide, there's more shit to get up to. You got more yo boys, place you could stay and shit if you fucks around and people come looking for you. All right, so there was a whole string of these kind of attacks where some nog jumps out of a bush, whacks some woman in the head, tries to drag her into a fucking bush, for fuck's sake, right? Or jumps into some, like, carjacking even, right? Like, early on carjacking, prehistoric carjacking. This is the kind of shit these people were up to. So all of this kind of shit in the years leading up to this Diamond Dick situation. So the people congregate outside there, and I guess prior to this, there had been a handful of lynchings. And I will tell you, dude, I am a fan. I am a huge fan of vigilante justice. So people had congregated now outside the police station, and one, because probably the possibility of a lynching was out there, but it doesn't sound like it had started to go that way. There was some talk, and I remember this earlier on, from where the cops were all there, and they were like, yeah, you're not doing any shit out here. You people can hang out if you want, but you're not taking anybody out of here. I'm running this fucking thing. But there was also a situation, I guess, where, and this was what Devin Stack brought to light, was that you got nothing else to do. If there's something going on and you hear about it, it's only really normal that people are going to go down here to the police station and check it out. I mean, because, right, what else are you going to do? You're going to get on your fucking phone and like, hey, what's going on out there? No, you don't know what's going on. So people are just going to walk down there to the police station and see what's happening. And that appears to be what was happening here. The other part of the problem here was that the blacks started showing up armed. So this was, I mean, dude, like, metropolitan problems, right? And you're going to need these metropolitan solutions. And they do a drive-by on this police station. These blacks do a drive-by, and they shoot at least a few white men. I can't remember if anybody got killed, But this is what spun the whole thing up. And you can see where people are like, you know what? Fuck this. And even if they were going to let the cops, like, all right, we'll let justice handle this. She wasn't actually, sexually assaulted. She just, this blick came along and put hands on her. It said tore her clothes, whatever. But, we'll let justice handle this. And then this shit happens. So it appears, and I don't have the full account of it, but it appears like some fuckers got handled. And if I recall right, like the Right Stuff from way back did a deep dive on this, and it was about, they were talking about like 16 to 18 people. So that'd be like 16 to 18 blacks. And all of these assertions that like, oh, mass graves, bro. Like, no, it was basically mass graves for anybody that was poor. So if you go to the outskirts of town, this was where, like, yeah, you don't have family, you don't have money, you don't have anything. So we're just going to bury you in the pauper's grave, if you like. But anyway, I get into it, a while ago with this intolerant leftist, as they described themselves. And running on about, like, yeah, blacks, they had a Wall Street and everything, and white people just came and burned it down. And I'm like, yeah, let me help you with this, because clearly you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So I said, look, this, you got Diamond Dick over here, you got these Nogs doing a drive-by. Well, I mean, yeah, but where did you see that? In the white-owned newspapers? And I'm like, man, think it through. Again, think it through. Tell me how this makes fucking sense. Like, people are going along, they're minding their business, and they're like, you know what? And again, another thing that Devin Stack mentioned, you know what? I see these blacks over here being industrious and getting shit done, and you know what? Fuck that. Get your biplane. We're just going to burn this down. That's the silliest shit I might have ever heard. I mean, think it the fuck through. And at the end of the day, I think it comes down to that saying that, and I really like this one, common sense, or the real definition of a red pill, is believing what your ancestors told you about Jews, not what Jews told you about your ancestors. Because it boggles the mind, the idea that you're gonna just the way that you are now, the way that we are. Sorry, guy. Yeah, I just pulled in front of some guy like I'm the asshole in traffic on the way to the airport. I'm the guy. Look at this fucking jerk. I am that jerk. All right, let's go. So, yeah, so what I was saying is, like, what are we meant to believe here? That, these poor blicks were just out there making their way and making something for theyself and forging a way ahead and probably getting ready to build an engineering school or a medical school any minute now. And then your ancestors came by and just burned it all down, you bunch of fucking jerks. And then magically, somehow, generations later, because that's just bred into you, that's part of who you are at a genetic level. And yet somehow, so many generations later, you're willing to just fork over the huge portion of your paycheck, step aside and let the downtrodden soul brother find his way into a successful life, even though that usually only leads to a 3 to 5 year suspended sentence with 5 years of parole. How does that fucking play out? I mean, I thought you were inherently rotten, and yet here you are just tolerating a beating that, quite honestly, your grandparents would never have tolerated. And quite honestly, if these people were industrious and decent and peace-loving, then how was it that they weren't policing their own? When you hear about these attacks, all of these shenanigans, you don't gotta look too fucking far, right? These silly blacks and their silly shenanigans. I mean, it goes on and on for how far back in history do you gotta look? I mean, this shit has gone on forever. So if you're the peace-loving, decent, industrious people that you claim to be, and it was actually white folks that was out there making everybody's lives difficult, well then why weren't you people policing your own? But what's a trip is, I mean, you present this shit to these people and it's just blue screen of death, man. I mean, you see the gears lock up and like, well, no, that doesn't jive, that doesn't fit. And you're like, I know it doesn't fit because you've been fucking lied to since the day you could walk. So help me help you. But they'll just hang on to it and then change the subject to something else. Well, fucking Trump. And all right, that's enough. In any case, before we press on, I want to I don't know. I'm not completely sure how to present this, but I have what I'll call a sponsor, right? So I got hit up by Above Time Coffee, and the dude said, "Hey man, I like your product," or he didn't completely say I like your product, but how about like I tolerate your ranting and raving. What would you think about us sponsoring your program here? And the dude offered to sponsor the coffee break situation. So I said, well, I like the idea. I mean, I'm stoked to get hit up by somebody saying, hey, I want to sponsor your ranting and raving. That's fantastic to me. But again, just like a couple of dudes that said, hey man, can I send you a couple of dollars or something? And I will tell you, dude, I love the idea. I think it's really cool. I really appreciate it. As it is though, right now, it would be more of a pain in the ass for me to take a few bucks. I mean, even if the Above Time Coffee guys were willing to offer, we're going to give you $1,000 a month. All right, then it would start to be like, yeah, all right, well, this is worth my while. But otherwise, it's like I got to figure out a way to connect this to something that's not me, or stand up some kind of like quick fix cheapo LLC or something and do it that way. Because I can just fucking see that, like, well, we can't get you on hate crime charges or terrorism or whatever, but I am going to figure out a way to break this guy's balls, and income tax evasion is probably the easy answer, right? So I'm like, you know what, man, don't worry about it, dude. I said, just tell me what you want me to say, and I will say whatever the hell you want, and we'll just call it good, dude, because it's an all-white business, pro-white business. So quite honestly, even if the coffee was like rough, I'd be like, hey, I don't care. Drink it. Put it in your cup. Put it in your mouth. It's for you, right? So as it is then, what I will likely be doing then is I'll just give a little shout out to them, every episode or so. I'm going to try to not make it lame. I'll try to make it colorful. I promised at least that, like, hey, if I'm talking about your product, I'm not gonna use profanity to talk about your product, because it's yours and I don't know you personally, and I don't want to make it weird for nobody. So I'll just kind of do up like a do-it-yourself type commercial, say a few things, say it good, say it clever, and that, for our purposes here, will suffice. So by way of an inaugural Above Time Coffee commercial, let me start it this way. We all have dreams of a better, brighter, whiter tomorrow. And when you're standing in your wheat field with your beautiful girl in a blue and yellow flower dress, you might think you've arrived, but that's not quite the case. What you're going to want is Above Time Coffee. When you're sipping your coffee and watching those shady invaders make their way back to whatever stinking desert homeland they schlepped in from, you're going to want that Above Time Coffee. Sip your coffee, enjoy your life. Above Time Coffee. You can get this at abovetimecoffee.com. Get it, put it in a cup, put it in your mouth. Delicious, amazing, incredible. Right? There you go. A commercial. You were there for the first one. All right, so back to live action then. You fast forward 100 years, and what do we have now? We have everything that they were trying to get up to 100 years ago, except nobody's stopping them now. Now, so many years later, we're stuck with this kind of madness, this Austin Metcalf situation, where this poor guy's dad, I mean, I don't know, I'm never going to say that, like, some high school kid had it coming, was that Molly Tibbetts, that white girl, and I think it was Iowa, that got raped and murdered by some illegal Mexican. I'm never going to say somebody like that had it coming, that she deserved that, or that Austin Metcalf deserved to get stabbed in the heart by this piece of antique farm equipment. I'm never going to say that. What I will say, though, is that these people's parents done them wrong. All right, because when you hear these people talk, what did you hear, man? You heard, Molly Tibbetts' dad talking about tacos and food and restaurants. And look, I understand, I appreciate, man, that, like, you gotta be hurting, and maybe you're looking for anything you can get your hands around to make yourself feel even slightly better. But you know what would make you feel even better than that is not having your kid get killed by one of these non-whites. That'll make you feel a whole lot better. I guarantee it. But I'll tell you, you can't do that in the after. You can't do that once they're dead and go, well, doggone it, something needs to happen. Too late, friendo. Too fucking late. The time to do that is before. And I really think that, the Germans, like so many things, man, they hit it right on the head with that story about the mushroom. And this was, when they talk about, what do you call anti-Semitic propaganda or whatever, this was one of the stories that they were always bitching about. It's called Der Pilz. And the idea here is like, this is the mushroom, right? And the idea here, long and short, is that, you can eat mushrooms. You have mushrooms on pizza along with pineapple, law, right? You can have mushrooms in all kinds of things. Lots of mushrooms out there are tasty, will not kill you, are good for you, right? However, there are also mushrooms out there that will kill you. All right? They will kill you fucking dead. And I can't remember the name of that movie. It's about some fucking hippie, like into the wild or into the unknown, into something fucking... Into a bus is where this guy ended up. And some guy, I want to say in Washington, some hippie backpacker type that was walking around, living off the land, growing a giant beard, not bathing. And he had set up shop in like a broken down, abandoned bus in the middle of a fucking field. And he's out there foraging, man, and like eating and living off the land, man. He's like one with nature, man. And then he's eating these mushrooms. And he's snacking them up, and he's like, wait a minute. Oh, shit. Oh, fuck. And he's looking at this little guidebook that he's got, and it's like, whatever you do, don't mistake this one for this mushroom over here that looks just like it. If you eat this one, you're fucked. And he's looking, and he's like, oh, fuck. And like, yeah, you just fucked up, guy. Like, you just ate that mushroom right there, a whole bunch of them, that looks exactly like what you thought it was over here. And you're on the clock, dude. You got probably 2-3 hours. I hope you had a nice time. You're fucked. All right? And it's the same fucking thing. And I had heard somebody put it a way that, like, it's not all of them, but it's always them. And this is also true. Because, yeah, you've got your industrious blacks. You've got your intelligent blacks. You've got your high-minded, well-behaved blacks you want to have for a neighbor. But not everybody gets to live next door to Thomas Sowell, all right? I actually saw there was one other, I don't know, and I don't know who this woman is. I have no idea. But it was a little clip that went by, and it was this black woman, and she was pissed. And I don't know what it is, man. It's fucking weird because, like, Thomas Sowell doesn't talk like Bunny Ears, a black dude. And this black woman that I saw doesn't sound like a black woman, which is nails on a fucking chalkboard to me. Like, I fucking can't, bro. I just fucking can't. I'm like a high school girl. I can't even. All right. So I hear this woman talking, and I'm like, I had it on silent first, right? I see her talking, and I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, what is this shit gonna be about? So I click on it, and I'm listening, and I'm like, holy shit. And she sounds like a white girl anyway, but she's talking about, I just don't understand what the fuck it is with these people. And she's got like one of these chimp out videos in the back while she's talking. And she's talking about, I don't know what your problem is. This is why people don't want to be around you. You people can't be trusted. You go anywhere, you make a scene, you make a fight, you have your ass out, you're screaming, you're breaking things. Nobody wants to be around you. Nobody gives a shit about your baby daddy. Nobody gives a shit about you. Oh, what the fuck did you... Pookie Ray Ray. That's what it was. She's like, nobody cares about who done you wrong, Pookie Ray Ray. Everybody's sick of it. Everybody's fed up with your shit, including me. It's like, holy fuck. And all the comments, man, are like, hey, she seems all right. She's all right. She could stay. And I mean, I guess the rub, though, is like, I don't know now. Like, one, who's the white man that's going to bite the bullet? And no offense to her, is Thomas Sowell too old for her, because otherwise, what do you get, dude? Maybe she's smart, but now she's going to marry off onto some fucking half-wit, and now she's going to have Pookie Ray Ray to deal with. And that sucks for her, but this is not my fish to fry. I didn't make this shit happen. So, I don't know. That's just its own conundrum, man. But anyway, moving on, dude. I think, well, it's only a couple of days until the Mary Fagan anniversary, and I can't remember what this is, like 102, 103, something like this. And I have seen more and more of this shit come out, where like these Hebrews are running hard, dude. Like they know that they are. I'll tell you what, it is very encouraging. Where like only a couple years ago, you're like this tinfoil hat, fucking wannabe jackboot marching conspiracy theorist, white supremacist, and this kind of shit. And now it's only a couple years since this October 7th thing has gone. And I completely believe that Israel had a total hand in this. Looking at the way shit has gone, I believe this was completely on purpose. But just looking at the way that people perceive them now, it's this situation where tomorrow, if you had a candidate that said, we are going to stop funding Israel, we're not going to pay for their genocide any longer, you would have a huge percentage of people say, yeah, I am into it. You would have people into that. You would get applause for that. Whereas only a few years ago, people would be like, oh my God, they're our greatest ally. Like, yeah, they're the best. Amazing. But now people are no shit waking up to it. And it's great to see. So they're really, really hard on defense. And dude, I don't know, maybe they get this genocide over quicker and they could get into re-spinning history if they didn't suck so bad. I mean, one, they're just, good God, dude. Somebody sent me that video of, I think it might be in the chat too, of these Hebrews, these IDF fucks, and they're trying to take this two-story structure, and there's like, these dudes get like, bah, 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 like get just driven. I don't know if anybody got shot or what. I like to think they did. But just get driven back down the fucking stairs. Like 2 or 3 guys go tumble fucking down these stairs. And there's guys just running everywhere. And I thought, like I told the dude that sent me this video, I really thought for the longest time that it was just the little Orthodox outfit. That it was just the little Hasidic outfit with the socks and the side locks and the goofy hat that made them look like that when somebody gets into their, scroll library or shoos them out of their tunnels or whatever. I thought it was just the outfit that made them look like scurrying rats. It's not the outfit. Dude, these guys in this structure, man, the scurrying is incredible. And look, dude, I will tell you, absolutely, dude, when you're in a building and the shooting starts, shit can get weird, man. People can be all over the place. But these fucking guys, I mean, you had nothing going anyway. And here's kind of what I mean, and you can use this in however, you want for your own edification, whatever, right? Is like, one, these 3 guys that went up the stairs, they were up there Han Solo, dude. And we call this beehiving. When you've got like a little gaggle of dudes and they have wandered off by themselves, if you don't have like a visual connection, like between you and, if there's guys at the top of the stairs and the first guy or the last guy in the train is at the entrance of the structure, or even, right outside, whatever, there needs to be a visual connection where there needs to be somebody seeing the next guy all the way through that crew. Because if you've got little groups of guys moving around on their own, it becomes real fucking easy. Like, you fire off a shot, it goes through a wall, and it hits, your friend. Or they start shooting, and they shoot you. Or it creates these dead spaces where, like, a little gaggle of dudes goes by, and somebody sticks their head out, and they're like, what the fuck was that? Is somebody in our building? And now they sneak across the hall, they get some shit, they sneak out some back window or something. Or people sneak in, even worse, is like you got a little beehive of dudes and they're moving and clearing rooms, and some elements will use like a marker, like a chem light or something, and put it there to signify a room that's already been cleared. So if somebody has an idea on this, and no doubt, like, these people have watched this shit in a lot of these places, They've watched your tactics. They see what you do. They see how you do it. If they see that like an element moves by, clears like a room over there across the hall, and then has moved on down, and like there's nobody there, if they're like, well, fuck, dude, and now they just like whoop, like jump over there to that cleared room, now you're going to keep walking right past a guy. He might be in there with a fucking AK just waiting on your silly ass, or even worse, like a knife or something. So you think that room is clear. Now you go in there and maybe you think the whole structure is clear. So you go in there and guys start doing like a search or something. This guy does jack in the box, like ba-bong, and like chink, 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 like shanks you like you're at a high school track meet, and then jumps out a window or something. That's, what the fuck? Like, this is just shitty tactics. So you got these IDF idiots. You got 3 of them up a set of stairs. And stairs, man, stairs are dicey fucking business, dude. Going upstairs is extremely fucking dicey. For one, because you got to tilt your whole fucking head and body and look up. And to walk, just walk while looking up like that is hard enough. Walking upstairs with all that shit on, trying to keep your weapon up and pay attention to what's going on above you, this is not fucking easy. So you got to move fucking slow. You moving slow means you being an easy target. And then for 2, people can start dropping grenades down on you, which also sucks because you cannot throw a grenade. Okay, you can, right? You can throw a grenade up, but don't ever do that shit. You don't ever do that shit, because how many times have you ever tried to, like, you know, somebody leaves some shit down in the car and they called you from the balcony like, hey, I left my whatever the fuck, you know, my room keys, my wallet, my coffee cup, whatever. Throw it up here to the balcony to me. And you try to do it and like, and you miss and fuck it up and it bounces like off the balcony or something and almost hits you in the head. Imagine that shit with a grenade. What now? Like, yeah, I'll just throw this up there. No! Right? So you're kind of in a tight spot when you go up a set of stairs. So here's these 3 assholes going up a set of stairs. Bang, 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 bang. And like, obviously somebody did not want them up there. So they come falling down the fucking stairs. They didn't have anybody set up like as cover for like if you come running down and somebody is, you know, there should be somebody there with their head on a swivel, right? To like, okay, if you get shot out of those fucking stairs, if somebody tries following up on you, I'm going to be there. So I'll help you out. Just stay the fuck down and everything will work itself out. They don't do that. They got guys all over the fucking place. And I think it really does start to reflect on like, this is just the nature of these people that, like, you know, with us, it was always a thing of you have a couple guys go in a room. If you go in, say, somewhere like a really big room, let's say, and there's a lot of shit in there, like maybe a machine room kind of a thing, right? Where there's a lot of shit in there to hide behind. Maybe there's some guys in there. If you go in and it's this big fucking room, there's a lot going on, and maybe there's somebody shooting, and you're like, 2 more, you call 2 more, you're standing right outside, right? And you hear this room is fucking hot, and now somebody is calling you to come in there that they need fucking help because there's somebody trying to kill them, right? Your natural fucking instinct is going to be, well, I don't want to fucking go in there. They're shooting in there. This fucking sucks. You got to fucking go in there, man. But that's the way white people do shit. That's why we're good at soldiering, because we're willing to say, like, all right, I need to put the mission first. I need to put my friends, my brothers first. I need to get the fuck in here. These cats, these IDF cats, this was like a dog fucking a sailboat, man. It was assholes and elbows scurrying. Fucking everybody's on their own fucking program. There's like one guy looked like he just fell down. There's another guy that's like, I'm saving you. And he's pulling the guy. He's trying to fucking stand up. He can't even fucking stand up because this guy's tugging on him. There's dudes just jumping over each other, shooting over people's heads. It's fucking nuts. But also hilarious, right? So anyway, yeah, like the fucking patience for these people is just running out. But so they're pushing real hard to get like, no, we're the good guys, and you know, and we're always wrongfully accused of stuff, like take this Leo Frank thing, for instance. So by way of like a quick review, some of the highlights if and when this stuff comes up, because I just did like a quick search of it, like what does AI say, you know? about like Leo Frank. Oh yeah, he was convicted on, really flimsy evidence, and there's a lot of anti-Semitism at the time. Some of the things that you could bring to this fight, if and when it comes up, you ever find yourself in the middle of it, I just wanted to hit the highlights because I went through the whole story. It was, about a year ago, and you can rewind and find that one in the Abuse Hour channel. It's still there. It's not going nowhere. But some of the highlights of that is that, like, one, when this guy got indicted, the grand jury had several Jewish members of the community, some who knew him. And these people voted immediately, like, yeah, this guy's got to fucking go. He clearly did this, all right? When the shit started coming down, it became very apparent that when the cops went to this guy's house, that he was shaking like a leaf. Everybody who observed him said he was shaking like a leaf before he even knew what happened. So at times when he would not have known that, like, yeah, there's a dead girl right over there, that this guy was shaking like a fucking leaf. When the cops showed up, when Jim Conley, the sweeper from the factory where this girl was killed, when he first observed him, they all say the same thing. He was sweating, he was shaking, he was rubbing his hands. And at these points, this guy didn't even know that this girl had been raped and murdered, right? And yet here he is acting this way, and everybody notices. Another part of this that really stuck out to me was that as soon as Leo Frank left the house, right, as soon as he left the house with the police, before anybody even knew what had happened, like nobody even knew that this dude would be arrested for the rape and murder of this girl. As soon as he left the house, he never came back, all right? He was arrested. He was rolled up. But all of these things were put in motion. Pinkerton Private Detective Agency was on the scene, very clearly planted evidence, all right? Because they say, like, oh, there was evidence found at the night watchman's house. What was that guy's name? Newt Lee. Like the old step and fetch black dude. Oh, we found evidence at his house. There was a bloody shirt at his house. Obviously planted, because when they showed it to him, they said, is this your shirt? And he says, well, if you found it at my house, I'm sure it must be my shirt, I guess. And then he looks closer at it and he says, well, no, this can't be my shirt, because this shirt is store-bought. Every shirt I own is handmade. Not like nice handmade, but like ghetto handmade. And he says, hey, talk to this woman. She makes all my shirts. I can't afford a store-bought shirt like that. Which at the time, yeah, obviously. So what do you think? This guy had like one nice store-bought shirt, and he just decided to wear that shirt to work one day and kill some girl? No, fucking stop it, right? As far as the Jim Conley thing, the sweeper, it became very obvious that him and Leo Frank had a little thing going where he would act as like the lookout and signal Leo Frank when one of the girls from the factory showed up that he wanted to try to press himself on. So the reason that we know that Jim Conley wasn't the guy who abducted this girl, because we know that she showed up, we know that she signed for her paycheck, we know that she departed that office but was never seen after that alive outside that factory, okay? But the reason we know that it wasn't Jim Conley, the black sweeper guy, is because he was aware of everybody who came and went between the time Mary Fagan showed up and he went upstairs and saw Leo Frank sweating and rubbing his hands. Oh my God, something happened. We know that he saw another girl come and show up and leave with nothing. Montine Stover, that was a girl's name, described when she showed up, what she was wearing, how long she stayed up there, and then when she left. He could have not done that if he was busy raping and murdering someone else. Right? Montine Stover says that she showed up and Leo Frank was not in his office. Oh, well, I was taking his shit. Right. Okay, guy. That was no shit his story. We also know that Jim Conley knew everywhere that Leo Frank was going to be that morning. Because according to Jim Conley, Leo Frank said, hey, will you come with me downtown? I got to do this stuff. I got to see this guy, and then I'm going to go here, and I'm going to have you do that thing that we do where you look out where I try to hook up with some girl. You could say that Jim Conley made that up. That's well and good. But Jim Conley would not be able to make up the fact that he knew where Leo Frank was going to be that morning. He knew when he was leaving the factory, when he was going to go downtown, who he was going to meet with, and what time he would be returning. All of those things were established facts. So there's not a way that Jim Conley would know that unless he had some kind of a reason to be coordinating with the superintendent of the factory. So again, this is not like something that's on the big message board or that they're like professional friends. This guy's a fucking sweeper. Makes like nickels an hour, right? And yet somehow he knows what the superintendent's schedule for the morning is, right? Does that make any sense? Fuck no. Lastly, Jim Conley would not know. Jim Conley testified over the course of 3 days and never wavered once, but testified that after he got me to move her body and put her down in the basement where she was later found, he brought me up to the office, was going to give me some money. He took money out of this drawer. Then these two women came up, and I can't remember their names, but he hid me in a closet, like a wardrobe, chifforobe fucking thing. Hid me in a closet. I heard them talking about she wanted to come back here, meet with her husband, some kind of thing, and then what time could they come by and what time do they have to leave and so on. He heard that whole conversation. That conversation was later established by that woman who came to the office. Like, yeah, I went in and asked about this. There's no way he could know that unless he was in that office. There's not a way that he could know that Leo Frank had a stack of money in that top drawer in such amount. Here, I think it was like $200, something like that. Not a way he could know he had $200 in there unless he saw him pull it out at some point, because that's the money he pulled out, gave to him, and then said, no, give me that back, Go and move the body first, and then I'm going to hook you up. And if anybody asks questions, you can go to Brooklyn. I have people there. There's not a way that he could know all of these things unless Leo Frank was neck deep in this fucking thing. And then lastly, according to the cops, this would have been, had it actually happened the way Leo Frank was saying, this would have been the only time that he had ever seen a black man try to rely on a written note as an alibi. So in any case, in the event this does come up over the next week or so, because no doubt they're going to try to wheel out in some avenue or other, we have to remember the scourge of anti-Semitism, and this is the kind of thing that can happen if you're not careful. This is the kind of thing that you can wheel out, because literally you can bludgeon these people to death with facts, and they will never see it coming. So I need to cut it a little bit short, man. I got to get in here, let Shaniqua look through my ass and personal effects. But yeah, I was thinking this, with as weird and hectic as everything is getting, I've kind of taken the approach lately of actually trying to be cooler to people in real life. So I started tipping. I started trying to be a little nicer to people. They present me with that stupid sideways phone thing. Just going to ask you a few questions here. I'll start giving people a little taste because times is hard. And provided they're not some blue-haired idiot, I'll try to give people a little compliment. Like, I like your hair. I like not your nose ring. I like your watch. I like your, whatever, something, man. And because, naturally I'm generally pretty negative and I have an eye out for all the things that are wrong and need to be done better. But I don't know what you could call it, mid-year's resolution or some kind of shit, to try to be just slightly cooler to people, because probably times is hard. And in times like these, I feel like these are the times when we can kind of sway people to our side a little easier. Because people are looking for fucking answers, like, dude, what do I even make of 3 sport athletes who stab people in the chest, So that's just me, man. You try it out, maybe, if you're into it. But other than that, drink above time coffee, and until next time, man, keep your eyes on the horizon, keep your neck out of the noose. I've been Coffee, and these are my takes.